So the biggest challenges facing Michigan are funding and, more importantly, the shortfall. And how do we address that shortfall? That's really the biggest piece. The elected officials are the ones that are going to determine what the funding levels are. But from an MDOT perspective, our challenge is how do we use the money that we have as efficiently and effectively as possible? One of the challenges as we go forward is thinking about what a future generation wants or needs in transportation. How do they want to move around the state? So we really need to think, as the generation that's in charge right now and are making decisions on things that will impact for the next 20 to 30 years, we need to think about that younger generation and what is it they want. And frankly, they want transit systems. They want some light rail. They want to be able to move around by passenger rail. There's a lot of best practices that we've been able to obtain from all over the country and frankly from all over the globe. And they range from everything from materials to methods to future research. Just in the materials section, there's carbon fiber that we're using in bridges as replacement for steel reinforcement that ultimately will not rust. So we should have bridges that last longer. And then you move to the methods. How do we build things and how can we do things more innovative and who's doing them the best? And I think we've pulled in a number of those types of activities from across the country, and they cost money. But what we've learned is over time, innovations cost money to start, and then it becomes the normal practice. One of the other pieces that we've seen from a methods perspective is really how you handle traffic flow through work zones. In a split merge, as you're driving down the road and all of a sudden one lane takes off across the freeway and it's on the other side of the freeway while the work is going on that side. Now that's intended so that we can keep the same number of traffic lanes flowing as we did originally. So if there were originally 2 lanes in each direction or 3 lanes in each direction, one of those goes to the other side, and we then have room to work on the bridge or the road or whatever we happen to be working on. The solutions are moving people and goods. You got to take care of both. We have the ability and we have the resources to develop this logistics hub. There's a couple of key pieces that need to be in place. We need to have the Continental Rail Tunnel, the double-stack tunnel for Canadian Pacific under the Detroit River. We need to have the Detroit Intermodal Freight Terminal. But a specific project is the new international trade crossing. And while some people would say, especially in West Michigan, well, that's over in East Michigan, that doesn't affect me. Well, you know what? You're not right. 1 in 7 jobs in the Grand Rapids area is tied to trade with Canada. That trade is going over the borders in Port Huron and Detroit. It is hugely, hugely important to West Michigan. Frankly, even more so important than East Michigan. Now, on June 15th, Governor Snyder signed an agreement with the Prime Minister of Canada, Prime Minister Harper, that moves this project forward. It's an interlocal agreement. It basically has Canada paying all of the costs and Michigan able to use that investment at $550 million as match towards our federal aid. Now, this is a very unique agreement that's got put in place. The framework of it really goes back 50 years ago. This year, we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the International Bridge at Sault Ste. Marie. 50 years ago, we had an agreement where Michigan paid all the costs for a new border crossing in Sault Ste. Marie. Paid for all the infrastructure. We sold the bonds, we bought the bonds. And after 40 years, when the tolls had paid them back, we then negotiated with them for a new governance agreement going forward. That is the exact same thing that's happening with the new international trade crossing, except the funding sides are reversed. Canada is fronting the money, and Canada will receive their payback from the future tolls. So this process has worked before. The international bridge has been in place for 50 years. The new international trade crossing is going forward. However we can optimize that solution to move the freight more effectively puts us in a much better spot for the future. So you've got to optimize it all together. It really is the integration of all these modes coming together that is going to help us make the best use of the money that we have.